This example will show you how to draw out interference between two different waves. So in this case, I have this one wave over here on the left-hand side of the sheet, and we're going to say that this wave is moving to the right at 1 space per second, which means basically just over one dot every second. And let's just say that this wave over here is moving to the left at one space per second, one place per second. Now, I have this set up where we have just second intervals, so 0 seconds, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Now, the first thing to understand is that the waves are just passing through each other. They're not going to bounce off of each other, so that makes this a little bit simpler. What I'm going to do that's going to help me and that will help you as well, is I'm going to just draw the progression of each wave individually. So I'm going to take this first wave over here on the left, and I'm going to draw the progression at each spot in blue, just so we would see what happens to this wave. So it's just going to move over 1 space to the right every second. So here's where it is after 1 second. Then after 2 seconds. Then after 3 seconds. Now I'm going to do the same thing with the other wave, except I'm going to use a different color. I'm going to use green. So this wave here, I'm going to move it over. So it moves over to the left for 1 second. This is going to be after 2 seconds. And then this is going to be after 3 seconds. Now, the thing I want you to understand is what you see here in the blue and the green, those aren't actually what you're going to see. I'm just drawing those to help us to draw in a third color, in red in this case, what you'd actually see if you were to look at this on the side. And what you're going to see is just the overlapping waves. So for the first one, you'll see exactly what you see up here. For the second one, at time is 1 second, I'm just going to draw in the parts that are not overlapping. In fact, this whole thing is not overlapping. So what you'd actually see would be the entire waveform. So let me just draw in red here the entire wave. And you'd see what you see in red if you were to look at this from the side. Now for the third one, this is where you actually have overlapping parts. So you can see in this segment here, the blue and the green are actually overlapping each other. So we're going to have to come back to that. First thing I'm going to do is just draw in the segments that are not overlapping. So with the blue, I'm just going to draw this part in here. And then for the green, I'm just going to draw this part in here. Now you don't really have to do that. I like to do that just because it helps me to see kind of what the general shape is going to look like. And then what I do is I just go to each set of dots, each column, each vertical column, and I just add up the positions of each wave. So at the first set of dots where it first starts to overlap right here, I add up the heights of both the blue and the green waves. So if I add up the height of 2 plus the height of 0, I get a height of 2, and I just put a little dot there in red. Then I go to the next column and I do the same thing. Blue is at 2, green is at -2, so that adds up to 0. Then at the next column, blue is at 0, green is at -2, that adds up to -2. And you don't have to go just by the columns, you can go in between as well. So if I went in between these two dots, I'd have blue is 2, green is -1, so that'd give me a height of 1. And in between these two, I have blue is at 1, green is at -2, so I have a height of -1. You can see the progress here where we just have a diagonal line that forms by all the dots, and so I just fill that in. So what you see here in red is what you would see at that time. You wouldn't see the blue, you wouldn't see the green, you'd see what you have in red. This is kind of like in math, where if you had two different functions, like let's say this is f of x, this is g of x, you're adding them up. So if f of x is the blue, g of x is the green, f of x plus g of x would be the red. So that's what you'd actually see. So hopefully that'll give you a little bit of a relationship to what you've seen in math. Let's move on to the last one. Same basic thing, it's overlapping the entire time, so I just add up the heights. So blue is at 0, green is at 0, so that's at 0. Blue is at 2, green is at -2, so that's at 0, 0, 0, 0. So if I add up all the heights, I get 0, which means that if I connect the red dots, you wouldn't see anything. So if you actually look at this, you have the blue, you have the green, but you wouldn't see them. So this is where it's completely destructive interference. They're completely canceling each other out. You would see absolutely no wave at that spot. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight as to how to draw on these waves when you have constructive and destructive interference.